Without too much talk, this is the biggest and most premium box for a phone that has reached me in a long time, the Vivo X300 Pro photography kit version, the one that comes with the insane zoom lens. Let's open it together. Let's open this giant box. The first thing we'll find is the phone's own box itself. Forget about it for now, we'll come back to it later. Let's open the drawer underneath, and this is where the treasure is. This is where the hype is that literally turns this phone into a terrifying camera. The first piece is the insane zoom lens made in collaboration with Zeiss. Look at how it looks. This multiplies the zoom capabilities by 2.35x, meaning it reaches 235x zoom. And this is the grip that you'll hold the phone from, and it has buttons so it actually feels like a real camera. And this is a very sturdy and solid case, so you can mount the lens and the grip on it because they're heavy, not light. And these are 3 different rings that mount onto the rear camera of the phone. And these are some papers or a manual explaining the zoom lens. And this is a strap so you can hang in the phone after turning it into a camera. Alright, let's check out the phone itself now. This is the regular box that the phone is sold in without the kit. And here's the phone in beige. Look at how the camera looks. Now let's install the kit. The case first, but be careful when installing and removing it because it's a bit stiff. Then we mount this giant lens, which of course attaches with a twist into a metal frame. Don't worry about it at all. Then we attach the grip, but you need to focus a bit so its socket connects properly into the phone's Type-C socket without damage. And this is the final look, literally a terrifying, very powerful camera disguised as a phone. So let's test it together. Make sure you smash that beautiful like button and let's start the review. Let's put the photography kit aside for a bit, we'll definitely come back to it shortly, and check out the phone itself. The phone here has a flagship design as usual, a glass back of course, metal frame. This beige color in real life is really beautiful, a slightly light beige. The rear camera here is placed inside a large circle that protrudes from the phone's body. I know some people don't like the rear camera layout being placed in a circle, they call it a washing machine and stuff like that, but honestly the camera hardware here is terrifying as we'll see in a bit, so Vivo needed a big space. I'm not justifying it for them, I'm just explaining that this phone is literally what you call a camera that happens to have a phone attached to it, even without the zoom lens and photography kit. And on the protrusion here, Vivo wrote some numbers and details, and there's a copper ring around it that gives it a touch of premium feel. Of course, this big camera bump raises the phone a lot when you put it on a desk. You really feel like the phone is lifted a bit. And of course, there's another different case besides the kit case, a normal case in the phone's color inside the box that protects this big bump. The phone's weight here is not light. You're talking about a flagship phone with powerful specs, so it's 226 grams and its thickness is 8 millimeters. The idea is the grip and weight distribution, and having a large round rear camera that almost takes up the entire upper half of the phone makes you, when you hold the phone without a case and lower your hand slightly, feel like the phone kind of wants to tip over. But honestly, it's not extreme, not like the old releases that had round cameras in Chinese flagship phones where you felt like the phone was always about to fall toward the camera side. Here it's done in an acceptable way. I personally don't prefer the round rear camera look, to be honest, but it had to be there on this phone because of the powerful imaging capabilities we'll get into shortly. The phone here is water resistant, of course, IP68 and 69, the highest certifications available. And there's an extra button you can customize with shortcuts however you like from the phone's interface. And there's no dedicated camera control button because the kit includes the grip that lets you control the camera. The display here is 6.78 inches LTPO AMOLED 1500K 120 Hz. The display has all the technology you need: 2160 Hz dimming rate, 1 billion colors, supports HDR10+ and Dolby Vision. A completely flat display with very slim bezels. From a distance, it looks very similar to the Oppo Find X9 Pro display, and honestly, the display experience here is very good. There's no major issue considering this is a flagship phone, not a mid-range or a flagship killer. Let's focus on some details, starting with display colors. By nature, I like the display to be a bit saturated because I'm used to Samsung displays. Here, in its default natural mode, you'll feel the colors are soft, natural, not very punchy. If you switch to professional, the colors become more authentic, deep, not punchy or overly colorful. And when you go to bright, which is supposed to be vibrant and brighter, you find the colors become oversaturated. You can't control the saturation level, you can control the display warmth, meaning whether it's more yellow or more blue, so it's not extremely accurate. When I set it to bright, reds and oranges pop way way more than natural. So honestly, I didn't find a setting that felt perfect for me in this phone's display colors. I went back to natural. I'm not criticizing it, I'm just explaining that as someone used to saturated displays to a certain degree, I didn't find it here. If you're used to the iPhone display style, then you're good. You won't feel any issue here, and you'll find it delivers almost the same color experience as the newer iPhones. One of the good things about this phone is the display brightness. Excellent under sunlight. We're talking in the range of 2000 nits or more. You'll see the screen very clearly. Someone might say, man, I wanted a Quad HD display. Look, Chinese companies don't put Quad HD. Their max is 1500K because they believe Quad HD isn't used by anyone and drains the battery unnecessarily. So here it's 1500K max. The thing that also matters to me personally when using displays is the anti-reflective coating found in the Ultra, which made me get used to that feature in expensive flagship phones. Of course, it's not present in Chinese phones overall, and it's not present in the Vivo X300 Pro. I'm not criticizing this display. I'm a flagship phone user, and I'm sharing my experience after using the X300 Pro. The phone is very good, but there are a few notes on the display if you're coming from this year's Ultra or last year's.
And if you notice, my notes on the Vivo X300 Pro display are almost the same as my notes on the Oppo Find X9 Pro display.
Now let's move to performance. Vivo here used a flagship processor from MediaTek Dimensity 9500 5nm technology with blazing fast UFS 4.1 storage. The phone runs Origin OS version 6 based on Android 16 with a promise of 5 years of Android updates. Honestly, this software experience is completely and partially different from FunTouch that we're used to in Vivo phones in the budget, mid-range, and upper mid-range categories. This new interface has actually reached some Vivo phones already.
If you've tried it, tell me your opinion. Do you think it's different from FunTouch or not? For me, of course, it's different. This interface is 100 times better and closer to ColorOS. The phone's performance here is blazing fast. The processor is very powerful. It will handle anything you think about doing on the phone. I know some people don't prefer MediaTek processors. They say let's stick with Qualcomm and flagship phones. But honestly, MediaTek in the last 2 years has developed massively, whether in mid-range processors, flagship killers, or even their flagship processors, which have become very powerful. This processor achieves very strong numbers in benchmark tests, and the GPU inside it is very powerful, honestly competing with Qualcomm easily. And this is of course the same processor used in the Oppo Find X9 Pro that we tested together. But I had a comment about cooling and heat on the Oppo phone. On the Vivo X300 Pro, the phone of course heats up a bit during heavy benchmark tests, and you feel it on the body. But in normal use, social media, calls, even long camera use for photos, not videos because 8K video can make the phone heat a bit, most of the time the phone just gets slightly warm, not on fire. It does heat up strongly during heavy tests, like I told you, similar to what happens on the Find X9 Pro. But the idea is that with heat and heavy pressure, the phone reduces frequencies but not as aggressively as the X9 Pro. So it's clear the cooling in Vivo is a bit stronger, or the software optimization with the processor is a bit better, because as you can see, the throttling on Vivo is slightly better than the throttling on Oppo. And PUBG runs at 120 frames very normally. You'll get an excellent experience, and you won't notice strong heat, even while playing PUBG at 120 frames. The fingerprint sensor here is under display ultrasonic, placed a bit higher, and it's blazing fast in every sense of the word. The phone of course has everything, NFC, an extra mic for noise isolation, and there's actually a mic inside the camera frame. There's always on display with many stylish shapes you can keep active all the time. The phone's sound is stereo, loud, and good like Chinese phones usually are, but not as massive as Samsung and iPhone stereo in flagship phones. The phone here has a real proximity sensor that turns off the screen at your ear during calls normally, and the cellular networks and Wi-Fi are excellent, one of the strongest flagship phones just like the Find X9 Pro. Now the battery here is 6510 mAh. Yes, it's different from the Chinese version of the phone that came with a bigger battery. I don't know, China sometimes likes to give its own market slightly higher specs than the global version. That's something with Chinese brands I honestly can't understand. Anyway, the battery performance here is not bad at all. Don't think that 6500 is small. A few months ago we used to call that a very strong battery. The battery performance here with these powerful specs and with me running the display at 1.5K, not full HD, lasts with me comfortably until the end of the day, 7 to 8 hours of screen on time normally. And so I don't make this too long for you, I tested it of course against the Find X9 Pro, gave both of them a full charging cycle, and I found that the Oppo is better by about 15 or 20% in battery. So in short, the Vivo will comfortably last with you until the end of the day with moderate usage. It's hard that you'll need to charge it at night, but the Oppo wins in that it could last with you into the beginning of the second day without charging. As for charging, Vivo includes a 90 watts charger. Forget the number, it charges the battery fast in less than 40 minutes. It also supports wireless charging at 40 watts, and its Type-C port is 3.2, which means it'll be fast with you in data transfer if you're using a fast flash drive or hard drive or SSD storage.
And we'll finish with the most important thing in this phone, which for me is absolutely the best thing in this device, the insane cameras made in collaboration with Zeiss. We're talking now about the regular camera that comes in the phone. We're not talking about the zoom lens yet. The main rear lens here is 50 megapixels with an f1.6 aperture using a Sony LYT-228 sensor, of course with optical stabilization. The second lens is the insane periscope zoom, 200 megapixels with an f2.7 aperture with optical stabilization using a new Samsung sensor called ISOCELL HPB. This lens does optical zoom up to 3.7 times, which is around 85 millimeters, and digital zoom up to 100x.
The last lens is an ultra-wide 50 megapixels with an f2.0 aperture, and the selfie camera is also 50 megapixels with an f2.0 aperture. The phone shoots unreal portraits with many different color styles, up to 135 millimeters, and it shoots video with the main rear camera in 8K at 30 frames, but not Dolby Vision. If you enable Dolby Vision, you drop down to 4K at 120 frames, and you'll find Dolby Vision working normally. It also shoots portrait video, where you can blur the background behind you. And when you install this powerful zoom lens, you multiply the periscope zoom capabilities here by 2.35, which means you'll be able to shoot 200 millimeter portraits. That's more than 8x zoom portrait. And you'll be able to zoom up to 5400 millimeters, equivalent to 235x.
On top of that, you have the grip that comes with it, which lets you fully control the camera. You have a shutter button and you can lock focus with it. And around it is a ring you move left and right to control the zoom. Dangerous, practical, and very easy to use. There's also a small red button to start recording video instantly, and a small wheel with an amazing texture and feel to control exposure or the brightness of the image easily. I know this kit might not be the first time it's released, but this is my first time actually trying it and keeping it with me for this long. So I'm impressed, guys. Someone might say, man, this came out on another phone a year ago. This is my first time actually using it and keeping it with me for this long, so I'm happy and impressed. Let me share with you now the camera experience of the X300 Pro with its regular camera lenses and with the zoom lens and the insane kit that will really bring out the professional photographer inside you. I admit I'm not that great at photography, but when I was holding the Vivo X300 Pro kit, I didn't want to put it down. I wanted to shoot anything and everything. So excuse the extra excitement and let's try the cameras together. Let's now start shooting with the phone's cameras without the kit and zoom lens. Let's put them aside and start with portrait shots. Honestly, the Vivo X300 Pro is one of, maybe even the best phones I have tried for portrait photography. So many focal lengths at the same time with very well-balanced processing. Zeiss and Vivo created an insane mix in processing between the Chinese phone style that gives you a lot of details thanks to the powerful sensors, and at the same time the processing style of iPhone and Samsung blended together, a little bronze tone from the iPhone and some beautiful colors from Samsung. Overall, you get an insanely beautiful photo look in all lighting conditions I tried. I shot more than 500 photos with this phone, which is a crazy number to shoot in about 2 weeks. I couldn't put the phone down. Even when the lighting drops, the Vivo is very balanced. It doesn't over-brighten the photo and doesn't darken it too much. It keeps very good processing and at the same time preserves good details without smudging them. I'm honestly impressed, especially with the portrait details on this phone. That's probably the thing I liked the most after the kit's zoom lens that we'll talk about in a bit.
As for normal photography, buildings, landscapes, cars, that kind of stuff, we're joking here. This is a flagship phone with a very respectable main sensor, so of course you get excellent details, processing, and colors. Even when the lighting drops, thanks to the big sensor, the phone doesn't struggle and doesn't even need to turn on night mode. It snaps quickly and captures a very solid amount of detail. As for the 200 megapixel periscope zoom lens, we're not talking about the kit lens here. This is the phone's regular zoom. It zooms up to 100x. I like it up to around 50x. By the way, all the photos will have the focal length written under them, along with the aperture, ISO, and everything, so you can zoom in and analyze the shots however you want. Up to 50x, like I said, it's good. After that, AI starts stepping in and drawing some details. Overall, the zoom lens here is stronger than the Find X9 Pro by a noticeable margin, and that was clear during the day and also at night. As for the selfie camera, Vivo didn't focus on it like the rear camera. I'm not saying it's bad. The processing is good and the details are very acceptable, but I don't feel like it has a unique character or extreme power in selfies like the rear camera here. Now let's put all that aside and install the kit with the powerful zoom lens and shoot 200mm portraits. Can you imagine shooting 200mm portraits and getting that level of detail and separation? This phone is unreal. It could even outperform DSLR cameras with strong zoom lenses. It really outputs very strong details, and I'm usually about 5, maybe 10, or even 15 meters away from the person I'm shooting. Can you imagine that?
What's even more impressive is when you try zooming on large elements. As you can see in front of you, the focal length is clearly shown before and after zoom. By the way, before zoom, this is 200 millimeters. We're talking about 8 or 9x approximately. That's not a small number. After zoom, look how far we go and look at the details. Look at this cat, for example. Unbelievable. I could take this photo and set it as a wallpaper. Look at this tree shot. Look at these buildings. This is the first time I zoom in on that building in the middle back there and see the details of its glass facade. Can you imagine? Even this sign, I've shot it with several phones before, and I could never capture the logo details this clearly without AI faking the image. Look at that distant network tower. I've never been able to zoom in and reach those clear details before. And here are some random zoom shots with the phone. When I'm holding the kit, I just want to shoot, and the photos come out colorful, beautifully processed, and full of detail. I'm honestly impressed. Look at this bird photo. This is 5400 millimeters. You can clearly see there's a bird standing there, and its details are somewhat clear. That's the maximum zoom. And here are some random shots of people standing far away that I'm shooting with the kit's lens. Can you imagine how powerful this camera is? The photos really speak for themselves. I enjoyed my experience with the Vivo X300 Pro, whether using the phone normally without the lens and kit, or using it with the kit and lens, which of course take the experience to a whole different level. Let's move on to video recording. Video recording on the X300 Pro spec-wise is very strong. You have 8K at 30 frames and 4K at 120 frames slow motion, so that's great. There's one thing I noticed. Stabilization here in video recording is insane. I'm shaking the phone really hard and it feels like it's on a gimbal. The optical stabilization here is unreal. Look guys, the background blur when I get closer feels like professional DSLR level separation. Very strong details. Let's now move to the zoom lens. I'm in a place that has both sun and shade at the same time, so I can really test the video. This is a video test using the Vivo and Zeiss tele extender. I'm now at 200 millimeters. Let's go now to 400 millimeters and look at the details. Here's 600 millimeters, 800 millimeters. Details start dropping a bit. I think up to 400 millimeters, you get good separation and quality. Of course, I can't keep my hand perfectly steady and it's windy, but guys, what are we even talking about? I'm about 40 meters away from that man standing over there. Night video recording with the rear camera on the X300 Pro, I still see the level as very good. Nice colors, very reasonable details. I'm now on the main lens shooting 4K, and I feel like the phone is really strong in video recording. Let's switch to the zoom lens. Look at the details and the real separation thanks to the zoom lens with its f2.7 aperture. The phone is, as you can see, very strong in photography, even at night. This is a selfie video test on the X300 Pro at 4K, wide angle of course at 0.8x. We'll see if the quality is as strong as the rear camera or not, because I feel that Chinese companies focus heavily on the rear camera and push it to insane levels of development, and then they kind of forget the selfie camera. They put a selfie camera that's good, but normal, not extremely advanced. And this is the X300 Pro's selfie video quality in low light at 4K. Look at the details. Is the street behind me well balanced or not? I can't really judge right now. Let's transfer the data to a bigger screen and check the video quality. Alright, we're done and impressed. Let's check the price. The X300 Pro will launch at $1,200 for the 512GB version with 16GB of RAM, and the photography kit is $450.
All prices mentioned are approximate estimates, meant to give you a general idea. Please check local prices in your country for accuracy.
And of course, you can use 2 SIM cards with eSIM support. You can't insert a memory card. And as for the photography kit, the Vivo X300 Pro, bottom line. Guys, I mean this as a phone. It's a very powerful flagship in most aspects, but specifically, it's extremely special in the cameras. It might be the strongest camera I've tried on the channel here so far in photography, not including video, just photography. That includes normal photos, zoom photos, portrait photos, video recording quality, that whole mix. If we're going to give it an overall score altogether, this is the best phone I've tried so far as a camera. It's seriously powerful. Very powerful. And I'm not just coming out here praising the Vivo X cameras because a lot of people already tried the X200 Ultra and even the old X100 Ultra. They were extremely strong in cameras, so the X300 Pro is no less than them. On the contrary, it comes with sensor improvements so you get better processing out of it and better camera capabilities. I wanted to come out and share the experience with you as if you were sitting next to me trying the Vivo X300 Pro, whether the phone by itself or with the professional photography kit. Now I finished the video, I've said everything I have. Make sure you hit that nice like button if you didn't already, drop a comment right now and tell me your opinion about the Vivo X300 Pro, and do you agree with me that it's the best camera we've tried on the channel so far? I know there are other strong cameras in other flagship phones, but I still haven't personally tried them. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you get our new videos as soon as they drop.